The house I shared with my wife sat quietly at the edge of a quiet suburban street, neatly trimmed hedges, a shiny black mailbox, and soft golden light slipping through white curtains like it had been designed for a real estate ad. It was the kind of place where nothing ever seemed out of place, where life played out in a steady rhythm of weekend brunches and evening wine. To anyone else, it probably looked like the perfect setup. But I had started noticing something. Just little things. I was standing in the kitchen that morning, pouring hot water into my French press, watching the steam curl up like smoke signals. The fridge hummed softly, the hardwood creaked under my feet, and everything looked exactly how it always did. Familiar. Too familiar. Like it had been rehearsed. The dining table gleamed, polished down to perfection. My wife, Natalie, loved fresh fruit, so I'd stacked a bowl of her favorites right in the center of the counter. Even the quiet in the house felt like it was carefully staged. Then I heard her footsteps upstairs. Barefoot. Light and slow. She walked down like she had a script to follow. "Morning," she said, her voice low, still touched with sleep. She was wearing a cream-colored robe, loosely tied at the waist, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. I could still smell the faint scent of her perfume from the day before. I poured a second cup before she even asked. "Coffee." She leaned against the doorway, stretching just a little. The robe slipped open for a second, showing a sliver of skin before it settled back. "Please," she murmured. I added 2 sugars, no cream, just the way she liked it. She took the mug and sipped, eyes half closed like she was soaking in the moment. We didn't talk much in the mornings. 8 years of marriage had taught us how to live in silence. Some of it was comfortable, some of it, not so much anymore. "You got meetings today?" she asked, finally sitting down at the table. "A couple," I said, sipping from my own mug. "Quarterly update and that audit review." She made a face and rolled her eyes. "You and those endless spreadsheets." I forced a smile. "Keeps the lights on." She glanced at her phone and then casually added, "I'll be out late. Dinner with a potential client. Might run long." That flicker in my chest. Yeah, it happened again. Just a tiny, passing sting. "Anyone I know?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. She shook her head too fast. "New prospect from Boston. PR gig. You know how it is." I nodded slowly. "Sure. I thought I did." She worked as the company's PR director. Always spinning things, always putting on a show, always selling an image. And it seemed like lately, that included what she showed me too. She pulled out her phone again, scrolling through it with her thumb. Her lips curled into a tiny smile when she saw something, but as soon as she noticed me looking, it vanished. She glanced up, tilting her head. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. "You just seem in a good mood." There was a pause before the smile came back, cooler this time. "Shouldn't I be?" "Of course," I said, looking down into my cup. "You've built a good life. We both have." She didn't say anything at first, but I caught the way her hand tightened slightly around the coffee mug. "This isn't about the fundraiser, is it?" she asked, eyes narrowing just a little. "I told you I didn't mean to leave your team off the guest list. It wasn't personal." "No, it's not about that." We sat there in silence. The kind of silence that stretches a little too long, that suddenly makes you hyper-aware of every sound in the room, the tick of the wall clock, the rustle of her robe as she stood. "I'm gonna get ready," she said. "Can you feed Max before you leave?" "Already did," I said. "He's in the backyard." She walked away without another word. Her footsteps faded down the hall, and I just sat there staring at her half-finished coffee. There was something off. I couldn't put my finger on it yet, but it was like a subtle shift under the surface, like when a wooden plank starts warping from a leak. Everything still looks fine, still works, but it's not solid anymore. Outside, I heard a car door slam shut. The neighbor started up his engine. Birds scattered off the lawn. Inside, the house went quiet again, same peaceful hush as always. But I heard it differently this time. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a performance. And I wasn't sure if I was still part of the cast. That night, after work, I made my way down to the parking garage under our office building. It was quieter than usual, kind of eerie, actually. The overhead lights flickered a little, buzzing like they always do, casting pale reflections across the polished cars lined up like trophies no one wanted. I was standing beside my Lexus, keys in hand, debating whether to finally head home, when someone called out to me. "Mr. Miller." I turned toward the voice. It was Marcus, one of the company drivers. He was walking toward me from the far end of the garage, dressed in his usual black uniform. Tucked under his arm was a leather folder, the kind that looked a little too formal for whatever he was about to say. "Didn't expect to see you down here," I said, trying to sound casual. "Just finished driving Mr. Cooper," he replied, nodding toward the black stretch limo a few spots away. I nodded, already stepping toward my car, but he didn't move. He just stood there like he had something else on his mind. Then he cleared his throat and said, "Look, sir, I think I made a mistake. Something I should probably tell you about." I paused, one foot already inside the car. "What kind of mistake?" Marcus shifted his weight awkwardly, then opened the folder and pulled out a small flash drive. "This," he said. "It's the backup footage from the limo's dash cam. Company policy. I forgot to take it out yesterday, and it kept playing on loop in the break room. Might have been running when you came in for coffee." The break room. I remembered it. The little screen above the coffee machine showing grainy security footage. I hadn't paid much attention, just thought it was a feed from the parking lot or something. But now, my stomach dropped. "You saying I saw something I wasn't supposed to?" Marcus gave me a long look. Not mean. Not sympathetic either. Just tired. "That depends on what you think people should or shouldn't be doing in the back of a company vehicle," he said quietly. There was a pause. Then he added, "I'm not involved in anything. I just drive. But you seemed like a decent guy." I took the flash drive from him. It felt light in my hand, but it might as well have weighed 1,000 pounds. He turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing until the garage swallowed them up. I sat in the car, the drive still resting on the passenger seat, just staring at it. I should have put it in the glove box. Should have gone home, made dinner, watched TV like nothing happened. But I didn't. I turned the key and started driving. The streets looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. My mind was racing, slicing through old conversations, tiny changes in Natalie's behavior that didn't make sense at the time but now lined up like puzzle pieces I hadn't realized were even missing. When I got home, Max, the golden retriever, came running up to me like always. I knelt down and scratched behind his ears, but I wasn't really present. I didn't say anything to him. Just moved through the house like I was on autopilot. I locked myself in the study, pulled down the blinds, and booted up my laptop. The room filled with the cold blue glow of the screen. I plugged in the drive. There was one file. 06-14, Limocammed MP4. My finger hovered over the trackpad. Then I clicked. The footage started off fuzzy. The inside of the limo, viewed from a slightly crooked angle. The lighting was dim but clear enough. And there she was. Natalie. Laughing. That laugh, too loud, the kind she always gave after one glass of wine too many. She practically fell into the seat, heels dangling off her feet. Then Ryan Cooper stepped in after her, loosening his tie, that smug little smile stretched across his face like it belonged there. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just watched. They poured drinks from fancy glasses, clinked them together like they were celebrating something. She leaned in close and whispered something in his ear. He threw his head back and laughed. Then her hand slid casually across his thigh. Not shy, not nervous, like it had been there before. Like it knew the territory. I closed the laptop. The screen went dark, and I just sat there. Hands folded in my lap. Spine stiff. No yelling. No pacing. Just stillness. A kind of stillness that only comes when something in you cracks so quietly, it doesn't even echo. Outside the study, the rest of the house kept going like nothing had changed. Dishes clinking in the sink. Max snoring lightly by the door. A soft wind chime tapping against the porch rail. But everything had changed. I felt it. There was no going back now. The next night, I cooked dinner. Not because it was a special occasion, not because I felt generous. Honestly, I think I just needed control over something. The table was set with almost military precision. White linen, polished silverware, candles burning in the middle. It looked like something out of a food magazine, not a marriage. I made grilled salmon, lemon butter asparagus, and baby potatoes roasted just the way Natalie liked them. She always said it made the house feel alive when I cooked. I didn't care about that anymore. I just needed to watch things heat up and change shape, even if it was just vegetables. She walked in a few minutes later, dressed like she was ready for a company gala. Hair curled, makeup subtle but flawless, wearing one of those blouses that looked like it cost more than my entire dinner setup. "Smells amazing," she said, sitting down with that practiced smile. "You didn't have to go all out." "I wanted to," I replied, voice calm. "It's been a while." Her smile wavered for just a second. "I know," she said. "Work's been nuts." She sipped her wine, her fingers tapping on the glass like she was keeping time to some song in her head. I watched her. Not just her face, her body language, her eyes, every tiny tick. She blinked too quickly after I asked about her day. She tensed just slightly when I brought up the client dinner. "Another long night?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, trying to sound casual. "Fundraiser stuff. Then more client meetings tomorrow." "Dinner again? Same Boston consultant?" She nodded. "Brandon. Just in for the night." "You taking the limo?" I said it smooth, steady, like I was just making small talk. But I saw it. The twitch in her eye. The flicker of panic before she caught herself. "I think so," she said. "Ryan offered. Since he won't be using it." "Generous," I murmured, cutting into my salmon. "You and Ryan seem tight." She laughed. Too loud, too fast. "We work together," she said, waving it off. "Of course we're close. But not like that. If that's what you're suggesting." "Did I suggest anything?" She paused, met my gaze, really looked at me like she was trying to figure out who the hell was sitting across from her. "You're acting weird tonight," she said. "Am I?" We kept eating in silence after that. Just the sound of utensils clinking and the dishwasher humming in the background. The tension was thick, but not the explosive kind. It was the kind that waits. The kind that listens. Eventually, she set her fork down and leaned back. "I know things have been off," she said. "But that's normal, right? Relationships go through phases." I nodded. "Sure. Maybe we just need a little space," she added. "Not a break or anything. Just room to breathe." She said it like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. "You want an open marriage?" I asked, watching her closely. She blinked, then gave a tight little smile. "Don't twist my words." "I'm not," I said. "I'm just asking." "I'm saying maybe we don't need to define everything so strictly," she snapped. "Maybe we stop pretending like we own each other." I put my fork down. "You've been thinking about this for a while," I said quietly. She didn't answer right away. Her lips parted, then closed. Something behind her eyes sparked. A flicker of fear. Or maybe shame. Hard to tell. "I'm just being honest," she finally said. "Honesty's important." She looked down at her plate, then back up. "You're not going to yell?" I shook my head. "Why would I yell?" Dinner wasn't over yet. And then I smiled. Not warmly. Not cruelly. Just calmly. The way someone smiles when they've already made up their mind. She excused herself after that, said she had a call to take upstairs. Didn't say who it was. Didn't have to. I stayed behind, finishing my wine alone while the candle flickered lower between our empty plates. I didn't move. I didn't need to. Not yet. The office break room was almost too quiet the next morning. It was early, 7:40 a.m. Most people were still crawling in from the train or stuck in traffic, clutching coffees like life rafts. But I was already there, staring out the tall window at the gray clouds rolling in over the lake. The sky looked bruised, like it knew something was coming. Behind me, the vending machine hummed softly. The stale scent of burnt toast lingered near the counter. But none of that mattered. Not anymore. I'd already seen everything I needed to see. The door swung open. Marcus, the driver, stepped in, looking like he hadn't slept. His shirt was wrinkled, and he had that 1,000-yard stare that only shows up when you've been carrying someone else's secret too long. "You're early," he said, pouring himself a cup of the office sludge we called coffee. "So are you," I replied, not turning around. "Or are you just always here?" He gave a dry laugh. "Part of the job. Gotta be invisible before the suits even remember I exist." He stirred 2 sugars into his cup. "No cream. Same as always." Then, without looking at me, he said, "You watched it?" "Yeah," I said, finally turning toward him. "Every second." Marcus exhaled, slow and heavy. "You look calm." "I am." "You sure about that?" I held his gaze. "Calmer than I should be." We stood there for a while in that cold, sterile glow of office lighting. The city outside started to stir, but in that little break room, time felt frozen. Then he set his cup down and said, "You want more?" "I want everything," I told him. "Every ride they've taken together. Every file. Every second." He studied me for a long moment. Not judging. Just assessing. "You planning to blow it all up?" he asked. I shook my head. "No. I'm planning to be precise." He nodded slowly, then reached into his satchel and pulled out a small hard case. 3 months' worth, he said. All backed up. Every ride. Not just night ones. I took it from him, slipping it into my briefcase without even glancing inside. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. "Because I know the difference between a secret and a betrayal," he said. "What they're doing, it's not just sneaky. It's arrogant. Like they think no one sees it. Like the rest of us are just background noise." "Smart man," I said. "Not as smart as he thinks," Marcus replied, meaning Ryan. Then, as I turned to leave, he called after me. "What are you gonna do with it?" I paused, hand on the door. "I'm gonna let them write their own ending," I said. "I'm just supplying the paper." By noon, I was back at my desk. Same view, same spreadsheets, same fake plants in the corner. Only now, I had something they didn't know I had. I could see Natalie's office from where I sat. Her door was cracked open. I could just make out her silhouette behind the frosted glass. She was laughing, tossing her hair back. Looked like confidence in heels. She had no idea. At exactly 1:15 p.m., I logged into the internal server. Not through the usual path, through a backdoor I still had access to from a side project nobody bothered to shut down. I uploaded one video. Just one. Not the worst one. Not the one that'd make the news. Just 47 seconds. Black and white. No sound. Just her in the back of the limo. Her hand on his leg. His fingers brushing her wrist. The kind of moment that only means one thing, no matter how anyone tries to spin it. I named the file something ordinary, buried it in a shared folder used by the PR team. Then I logged out. No message. No warning. Just silence. But this time, the silence belonged to me. The conference room on the 33rd floor looked like a set from a high-end tech ad. Glass walls, sleek black furniture, panoramic view of downtown Chicago so clean it almost didn't feel real. It was the kind of space built to impress clients, close 7-figure deals, and make mediocre executives feel important. I sat near the back. Not hidden, not front row. Just visible enough to be there, but forgettable. 3rd row from the wall. The kind of spot where people wouldn't notice you unless they were already looking. I wore a navy suit, clean white shirt, a tie just a shade darker than the shadows under Ryan Cooper's eyes when he walked in late, like always. He looked like a man used to being untouchable, hair perfect, suit tailored, eyes glued to his phone like he had better places to be. Natalie stood at the front of the room, by the podium, flipping through her note cards. Calm. Polished. Her hair pinned back. Gray dress, fitted just right. Diamond studs caught the overhead lights as she smiled that curated smile she used in every company photo. Their eyes met when he walked in. And they smiled. Not flirty. Not sweet. Smug. They thought they were bulletproof. "All right," Natalie began, voice smooth, clear, professional. "Thank you all for being here. We'll start with a quick walkthrough of our Q2 engagement strategy, and then Ryan will go over some Q3 initiatives." Nods and polite murmurs rippled through the room. People leaned back, ready for the usual charts, buzzwords, carefully curated wins. The lights dimmed. The first slides flicked across the screen: client stats, handshake photos, boring corporate fluff. I waited. I'd tested the timing a dozen times. Slide 11 faded. Then slide 12 began. And it wasn't a graph. At first, there was just silence. Then the screen lit up, black and white video, grainy but clear. The interior of a limo. No sound. Just two figures entering the frame. Her and him. Natalie sat down first, laughing, loose and tipsy. He followed. Sat too close. Their hands moved like it wasn't the first time. She leaned on his shoulder. He brushed her knee. Her fingers traced along his neck. Then the screen froze. Silence swallowed the room whole. No one moved. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes from awkwardness. It was paralyzing. Like watching a glass building crack in slow motion. You could feel the heat leave the room. I didn't move. All around me, people turned toward the front. A junior VP covered her mouth. One of the interns looked like he might pass out. Natalie didn't say anything at first. Her fingers gripped the podium like it was holding her upright. Her face was pale, lips parted just slightly, like she wanted to speak but couldn't figure out which lie to start with. Ryan jumped to his feet. "What the hell is this?" he snapped, looking around like the room owed him an explanation. No one answered. "Turn it off," he barked at the tech assistant in the back. "No." The assistant didn't move. He just stared at the screen, frozen, like the rest of them. Natalie finally found her voice, but it was brittle. "This isn't part of the presentation," she said. "There's been some kind of hack." "Right, a hack." The oldest excuse in the PR playbook. The board members weren't yelling. They weren't angry. They were worse than that. They were disappointed. Not because of the affair. Let's be honest, corporate America can stomach a little scandal. But because they did it so sloppily. In the back of a company vehicle. On camera. With arrogance. That's what killed them. Optics. Consequences. I stood. Not in a dramatic way. Just calm. Deliberate. I looked right at Natalie. Then at Ryan. And I smiled. Not cruel. Not vengeful. Just clear. Then I walked out. No explanation. No grand speech. No need. The silence was doing all the talking. The glass door clicked shut behind me, cutting off the murmurs and the tension. I didn't rush. I just walked slowly down the executive corridor, my reflection trailing beside me in the transparent glass walls. Clean. Sharp. Honest. I reached the elevator, pressed the button, stepped inside. And for the first time in months, I felt like I could actually breathe. I didn't realize how much noise had been living inside me until it was gone. The kind that hums under your skin without you noticing. The second-guessing. The tiny anxieties. The way you hold your breath during every pause in a conversation, waiting for the lie that's about to come. It all vanished in that silence. The real kind. The kind that stays. The morning after the movers came, I found myself standing in the bathroom, half-shaved, steam still hanging in the air. I looked at my reflection, not because I expected something new, but because I needed to face the old. There was no pride in my eyes. No victory. Just stillness. Like the surface of a lake after a storm passes. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt clean. Later that morning, a company-wide memo went out. Short. Clinical. Cold. Pending the completion of an internal ethics investigation, both Mr. Ryan Cooper and Mrs. Natalie Miller have been placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. It didn't use the word affair. It didn't have to. In corporate language, absence is admission. People passed my desk all day, some pretending not to look, others glancing at me like I was made of glass. Nobody said anything out loud, but their silence spoke plenty. At 12:42, my phone buzzed. "Natalie, I need to see you. Please." I stared at the message for a while, then locked the screen without replying. Not out of cruelty. Not anger. Just Clarity. Some bridges don't burn. They crumble. Later that afternoon, I made one more trip to HR. Cynthia was waiting. Her expression had changed, less guarded, more human. They've both declined interviews, she told me quietly. Claimed the footage was taken out of context. Of course they did, I said. You realize this'll follow them, she added. Probably for the rest of their careers. I didn't say anything. She looked at me for a moment, then asked, "Why'd you really do it?" I didn't answer right away. Just pulled out a manila folder and handed it to her. Inside, a department transfer form, signed and dated. Requesting relocation to the San Francisco office. A clean slate. Far away from the place where I lost myself. "You're leaving?" she asked. I nodded. "There's nothing left to fix here." She looked at the form, then back at me. "Are you okay?" And for once, I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I said. "I am now." That night, the house felt different. Not haunted anymore. Just empty in a good way. Like a room waiting to be filled with new things. Honest things. I moved slowly, room to room, like I was walking through a museum of a life that no longer existed. The photo albums, the souvenirs, the memories she left behind, they weren't wounds anymore. They were just objects. I didn't smash them. Didn't throw anything away. I packed the rest of her stuff in silence. Taped the box shut. Wrote one word on it. Done. And that was enough. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.